The velvet box felt heavy in my hands that night, not from weight, but from what it represented. 10 years of marriage, of building a life with Alexei, of trusting someone so completely that you don't question when they hand you something beautiful. Before I continue my story, I wonder which country you're watching from. Do wedding anniversaries hold the same sacred meaning where you are? Do you believe some gifts carry curses? I can still feel the cool touch of his fingers as he fastened that vintage watch around my wrist, the ivory-colored dial gleaming under, our dining room lights, the aged leather strap so soft against my skin. "Happy anniversary, my love," he whispered, eyes filled with what I thought was tenderness. "I found it in an antique shop. It reminded me of you, elegant and timeless." I believed him. God, I believed him so completely. The care in his voice, the way he'd prepared my favorite dinner that night, roast duck with apples, candles flickering across our dining table, music playing softly in the background as we reminisced about our early days together, laughing over memories I thought we both cherished. It felt like our bond was growing stronger with time, like fine wine deepening in complexity. How blind we can be when we choose to see only what we want to see. The first warning came the very next day. I wore the watch to the university where I taught. Midway through my lecture, weakness washed over me like an incoming tide. Anxiety that came from nowhere, a headache that started as a whisper and grew to a scream. I blamed fatigue. Exam season always drained me, but the dizziness, the way black spots danced before my eyes when I tried to focus on my students' faces, the way my words tangled in my mouth, and then the strangest thing happened. When I took the watch off that evening, a cooling relief spread through my body. The fog in my mind cleared. The anxiety retreated like shadows at dawn. It couldn't be. The watch, though, that was absurd. A coincidence. What kind of person suspects an anniversary gift from their husband of making them sick? So I wore it again the next day, and the symptoms returned. Stronger, more insistent. Weakness that made my limbs feel like they were filled with water. Dizziness that made the world tilt and spin, and a nausea that rose in waves. When I removed the watch, I felt better, not immediately, but gradually, as if my body was fighting something invisible. That's when I noticed the redness around my wrist, a slight inflammation where the clasp touched. My skin, as if my body was trying to warn me about what my heart refused to see. "Darling, you're too sensitive," Alexei said when I showed him, his arms around me feeling suddenly like restraints rather than comfort. "It's probably just an allergy to the metal. Don't worry about it. If it gets worse, we'll see a doctor." Have you ever had that feeling where someone dismisses your concerns and you begin to doubt your own perceptions? Where you start wondering if you really are too emotional or prone to exaggeration, as they've told you so many times before? Something shifted inside me that day. A quiet certainty that something wasn't right. With the watch, with Alexei, with our life together. I began watching him more carefully. The late nights at work, the phone calls he took on the balcony, voice lowered to a whisper, the way he became irritable when I asked simple questions about his day, the wall of distance growing between us, brick by invisible brick. Then came the night I crossed a line I never thought I would. While Alexei showered, I checked his phone. I knew it was wrong. I knew it violated trust, the very foundation of our marriage. But something deeper than ethics was driving me now. Something primal, self-preservation. His call logs and text messages revealed nothing suspicious. But there in his email was a message from an address I didn't recognize. "The watch is ready, awaiting payment." 5 words that sent ice through my veins. 5 words that confirmed the whispers of my intuition. What did it mean? What was Alexei hiding? Why did the watch make me sick? I felt like I was assembling a puzzle in the dark, fingers searching for pieces that might not even belong to the same picture. My friend Irina was the first person I confided in. We'd been friends since college, and she'd always been my rock during tough times. "Redness on your wrist, Anna. That's not a joke," she said after listening to my story, her lawyer's mind already working through possibilities. "Even if it's just a metal allergy, it's better to be safe. And your symptoms, it's too strange that they align with wearing the watch. Have it checked or sell it. Get rid of it." Her words made the fear inside me crystallize, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. The next day, I visited a small pawn shop on the city's outskirts, a modest place with a sign reading, "Appraisal and purchase of watches and jewelry," the kind of place where people might not ask too many questions. It smelled of old wood and polish inside. Behind the counter stood a middle-aged man with thick, grey eyebrows and eyes that missed nothing. His name tag read, Mikey Appraiser. Hello, I said, trying to hide how my hands trembled as I placed the watch on the counter. I'd like to have this appraised. Mickey picked up the watch, donned his glasses, and began examining it with the focus of someone who'd spent decades learning the secrets of timepieces. He turned it over, studied it under a magnifying glass, checked the mechanism. Minutes passed, in silence, my heart pounding with each tick of the wall clock. When he finally looked up, his expression had changed from professional interest to something darker, something wary. This watch, he began cautiously, has been modified. The chill that ran through me then, it was like being submerged in ice water. Modified? What do you mean? Mickey looked at me with something like pity in his eyes. I've been working with watches for many years. This is vintage, valuable, but something's been added to it. Something that shouldn't be there. He pointed to the clasp. See this tiny seam? Something's been soldered in, very carefully, professionally, but it's not a factory part. I leaned in, squinting at what he indicated. There it was, a barely visible line in the metal, almost undetectable unless you knew exactly what to look for. What could it be? I asked, fear making my voice sound strange to my own ears. Mickey sighed deeply. He pulled a small tool from under the counter and carefully pried open the clasp. Inside was a hair-thin capillary. Wearing gloves, he extracted it with delicate precision. There's something here, he said, holding it up to the light. Some kind of liquid, colorless, odorless. I'm certain it's not water. What is it then? I repeated, nausea rising in my throat that had nothing to do with poison. Mikey met my eyes directly. I'm not a toxicologist, but from my experience, this looks like a slow-acting poison. Something that would gradually worsen your health without leaving obvious traces. The world around me seemed to blur at the edges. Poison, in the anniversary gift from my husband. The man who knew how I took my coffee and what songs made me cry. The man who had seen me at my worst and my best. The man I'd promised to grow old with. Have you been wearing this watch? Mikey asked, concern evident in his voice. I nodded, unable to find words. Then you need to go to the police immediately and trust no one. No one except the police and perhaps your closest friends whom you'd trust with your life. His voice was gentle but firm. Each word felt like a verdict. I stood frozen, unable to move or speak. My mind was a whirlwind of fragments, memories, suspicions, pieces falling together to form a picture too horrifying to contemplate. Alexei, my husband of 10 years, wanted me dead. But why? Seeing my state, Mickey poured me a glass of water. Pull yourself together, he said kindly. You need to act now. Your safety is the priority. I took a few sips, my hands still shaking. What should I do? I asked, looking at him with desperate hope. First, don't wear the watch anymore. Second, go to the police. Tell them everything. Show them the watch, the capillary. They'll conduct an analysis and determine what the substance is. Third, be careful. Don't tell anyone what you've learned, especially not your husband. I left the pawn shop feeling utterly drained. The world around me seemed foreign and hostile. The one person I had trusted with everything had become my greatest threat. Have you ever had your entire reality shattered in an instant? Ever discovered that the foundations you built your life upon were nothing but sand? Back home, I tried to act normal. Alexei greeted me with a perfunctory smile, asking about my dress fitting, the excuse I'd invented for my absence. I answered, vaguely, citing fatigue, and hurried to shower, as if water could wash away the sticky feeling of betrayal. That night, after a dinner where each bite tasted like ash, I excused myself to our study, claiming a headache. I needed evidence, needed to be certain before I took a step that would destroy everything. Alexei wasn't careful with his computer. Security. His password was our wedding date. The irony of that burned like acid. At first glance, his emails seemed innocent. Work correspondence, bills, greetings from colleagues. But in the archive, I found messages from someone named Svetlana. Messages that were clearly not professional. Alexei, I miss you. When will we see each other again? She'd written. Soon, my dear, he'd replied. We just need to wait a little. Everything will be sorted out, and we'll be together. The flush of anger that rose to my cheeks then. It wasn't just infidelity. It was the realization that this affair might be part of something far more sinister. His phone revealed more. Beyond the suggestive messages from Svetlana, there were conversations with an unknown number discussing guarantees of complete anonymity and making it look natural with no suspicions. Irina helped me track down Elena Petrovna. the widow of a jeweler who might have modified the watch. The elderly woman lived in a small house filled with memories and regrets. My husband made many custom pieces, she told me, fingers absently, worrying at her prayer beads. But one order troubled him greatly. He became very secretive in the months before his death, said he was being threatened. What was the order? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. A watch? Elena nodded slowly. Vintage watches that needed modification. The client insisted on a special clasp design, said it was crucial. My husband refused for a long time, but then he agreed. We desperately needed the money. Who was the client? I asked. She shook her head. He was careful, only said it was a very influential person. And how did your husband die? I asked, dreading the answer. Heart attack, she said simply, though he never complained about his heart. Every piece of information was another weight on my chest, making it harder to breathe. Alexei, deaths, a mistress, a poisoned watch, the jeweler's suspicious death. I was the victim of a meticulously planned crime by the man who slept beside me each night. I gathered evidence meticulously, backed up all of Alexei's emails, documented his internet searches about painless poisons and treatments for nervous disorders, made copies of Mikey's report and photographs showing the capillary in the clasp. Irina arranged for a toxicology analysis. 2 days of waiting that felt like years. 2 days of living alongside the man who wanted me dead, of watching him eat, sleep, smile at me. 2 days of pretending. The toxicologist's findings confirmed my worst fears. It's thallium, Irina told me, her voice grim. A slow-acting poison that causes symptoms easily mistaken for common ailments. Prolonged exposure leads to severe nervous system damage and ultimately death. Everything made sense now. The dizziness, the weakness, the nausea. Not random symptoms, but the calculated results of poisoning. My husband had planned my death to look like natural causes, for insurance money, for freedom with his mistress, for a life without me in it. I called the police and met with investigator Petrov, laying out all the evidence I'd gathered. He listened, attentively, his tired eyes showing a flicker of shock as the magnitude of betrayal became clear. These are serious accusations, he said when I finished. We'll need strong evidence to arrest your husband. I have everything, I replied, meeting his gaze steadily. I know he tried to kill me, and I'm ready to prove it. The hours after making my statement were the longest of my life. Would Alexei somehow escape, destroy evidence, finish what he'd started? When Petrov called that evening to say they'd detained Alexei, relief washed over me like a wave. I was safe. It was over. At the police station, I gave my statement. Everything from the anniversary gift to the poison analysis, from the correspondence with his mistress to his mounting debts, from the jeweler's widow to the modified watch. Alexei denied it all, of course, said I was delusional, that I'd made it all up, that he loved me and would never harm me. But the evidence spoke louder than his denials. The poison in the watch, the emails, the debts, the widow's testimony. Days later, he was formally charged with attempted murder. The investigation revealed more: his involvement in fraud, his ties to criminal networks, his plan to collect insurance money after my natural death, even his connection to the jeweler's murder. I learned all this from the news, sitting alone, in our apartment, now just mine, watching the screen with a strange detachment, as if it were happening to someone else, as if the woman they spoke of, the intended victim, wasn't me. Recovery was slow, physically, from the poison that had already entered my system, emotionally, from the betrayal that had shattered my world. I sought help from a psychologist, changed apartments, jobs, friends. I wanted nothing that reminded me of the life I'd had with Alexei. I didn't attend his trial, didn't need to hear his sentence. He was already sentenced in my heart, to be forgotten, to be erased from my history. A year after everything, I bought myself a new watch, not vintage, but modern, stylish, and reliable. When I fastened it around my wrist for the first time, I felt something shift inside me, a door closing on the past, a window opening to possibility. The time on that watch belonged only to me. Each tick a reminder that I had survived, that I was free, that despite everything, my heart still beat, still believed in tomorrow. Would you have seen the signs earlier? Would you have trusted that first whisper of intuition? Or would you, like me, have tried to rationalize it away? If it were your life, your marriage, your anniversary gift, would you have done anything differently? Or would you, like me, have trusted and loved and believed until the poison was already in your veins? Sometimes I wonder if there were earlier signs I missed, red flags that I chose not to see, because love makes us blind, makes us deaf to warning bells, makes us ignore the instinct for self-preservation that's kept our species alive for millennia. But I'm learning to trust myself again, to listen to the quiet voice inside that says, something isn't right here, to believe that I deserve a life where I don't have to check my food for poison or sleep with one eye open. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I don't know if that's true, but I know it changes you, remakes you into someone new, someone who understands how fragile trust is, how quickly love can turn to betrayal, how the hands that once held yours in tenderness can just as easily slip poison into your veins. And yet, I still believe in love, in possibility, in the future, because surviving means refusing to let them take that from you too, refusing to let fear become the architect of your new life. The watch that was meant to be my death sentence became my salvation instead, revealed the monster wearing my husband's face, gave me a chance at a new beginning. So I wear my new watch and count the days that belong to me alone. And I wonder about you, listening to my story in the dark. What secrets are you carrying? What poison has seeped into your life? And are you ready to face the truth, whatever it might be? Because that's the thing about time. It reveals everything eventually, even the darkest betrayals, even the most carefully hidden truths. And when it does, you'll have a choice to make. The same one I made, to look away and pretend, or to stare truth in its face and say, I see you now, and I choose to live.